liberal, split, took many votes away from Al Gore. Okay, if he wasn't in the race, Al Gore would have been president. Forget about the fact that people say that Bush stole the election because it came down to Florida and his brother was governor of Florida. Now, a lot of people still don't trust that final vote, that final tally. But if Ralph Nader was not in the race, Al Gore definitely would have been president. Then we never would have had the internet. Because, after all, Al Gore invented the internet. That's what he says.
That's what he says? Really?
But, think about it. There are many people calling for a third-party candidate, saying that it should be a regular thing. That the Democratic Party and the Republican Party no longer...
represent the people.
Exactly. That there should be another party. So...
I don't know. Excuse me?
Were you just addressing me? I was...
No.
I was...
No, we're talking. If you have something to say, you say it. That's all.
I think it's time for another song, Felix.
Obamacare was approved by 5-4, which a lot of people were cheering for.
Well, that was, the last effort for the Republicans to try to knock it down. Now the only way Obamacare would ever be overturned is, as we said, if a Republican becomes president and he, manages to get it overturned. But there's no way it's going to be overturned in Congress, and the Supreme Court said no. So it's the law of the land.
It is.
Not such a terrible thing, when you figure out that 10 or 11 million more people now have health coverage who didn't have it before. That it's, well...
A lot of people
what the
question.
Supreme Court said is it's a God-given right that people should have health care. Okay? And
I don't believe they said that.
What?
They said that?
Yes. That was the whole point
yes,
of...
they did say that.
That was the whole point of the vote. Just like they have in Europe. It's become now, socialized medicine, but the government doesn't pay for it. You have to pay for it. But it's a right of everybody to have health care.
Well, everybody still can't afford it, so it never had that impact.
Well, but you had so many people in the middle class who had jobs, but their employers couldn't cover them as far as health care goes. Or
they covered them only for a portion of it.
Right.
But you still had to pay. You still, as the individual, had to pay out of pocket, plus pay the copay, plus the medicines, because most of the medicines weren't covered. What burns me up is the fact that you now get penalized if you don't have coverage. And it's gone up. Every year it's going up more and more.
I think they said the first year it was something like $90-some-odd, which is almost a joke. If I was
well, now it's like $300 or $500, I think now.
Well, because it's been a few years already. If I was a young person, and the penalty was only a few $100s or whatever, a lot of them take their chances. They think that they're going to remain healthy forever. But what they don't understand, is the fact that all it takes is one accident or one severe health crisis. You come down with cancer. You get into a car accident and you spend months in a hospital. That's going to break you for the rest of your life. There's no way that you could afford to pay those bills. When my wife had her aneurysms, had her aneurysm surgery at North Shore, her hospital stay alone for 5 days was over $200,000. Okay, that doesn't even cover the doctor's fee. Okay, if we didn't have insurance, I would have had to have mortgaged my home, sold my home. So you could imagine if that happens to a person who has no insurance at all.
Well, by law, they have to take in the hospitals, insurance or not.
Well, no, they have to do they have to do the surgery. They have to take you in. But the bottom line is, they put you on a payment schedule, and then what happens is people file for bankruptcy. They said let's face it, the largest reason that people file for bankruptcy is because of medical bills.
Yep. But I will tell you, with the Obamacare, from what I've seen, the number of medications available to you has dropped quite a bit. They don't cover a lot of medications. Almost all medications that are of any value have to be pre-approved. You can't just get them. This is all the effects of having Obamacare or any kind of socialistic medicine. They're not just going to give you medicine that's expensive until the doctor has to prove it. Why? And you didn't see that much of it when it was more of a capitalistic type medicine plans, medical plans. Nobody's talking, I guess, so I don't know.
No, there's no such thing as a capitalistic medical plan. It's just before the Affordable Health Care Act.
It was a capitalistic. It was purely for profit.
It's still for profit.
Yeah, but it's got a lot of restrictions now where you can't make as much, you can't do what you want.
Hey, listen, we had that before. It used to be when a woman gave birth, she spent 3 or 4 days in a hospital. Now you give birth, depending upon.
Now they just throw you out the minute you.
Yeah, depending upon what time of the day you give birth. You give birth on a Monday morning, by Tuesday evening, as long as you could walk to the bathroom and pee, you're being discharged, okay? Because they need the space.
The next morning.
Yeah, and that has nothing to do with Obamacare. That was always like that.
Yeah. When I had Samantha, I was on Aetna. I had just went on my maternity leave from my company, and then I went on a leave of absence. When I had her, they were going to send me home. I gave birth to her at 1:34 a.m. on a Sunday. They were going to send me home the next day, but I caught an infection during labor, and then I had a very high fever, so they had to keep me. They kept me for 3 more days. But had I not had that infection, I would have been gone. I mean, there were people that came in at the same time I did, had their babies. They were gone the next morning.
Right.
Gone. With their child and everything.
And that is strictly insurance companies, okay? That's the provider, the insurance company, telling the hospitals what they have to do, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Like, here's one. The minute they told me she's born and it's a girl, they were like, okay, you ready to get out of bed? I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, get away from me. Are you kidding me? I just squeezed something out of me. You want me to get out of bed now? I was like, you're kidding.
Well, they find that, if you become active, the faster you become active, the better it is for you. If you stay or not, they do want to make you move right away.
Well, the bottom line is I remember the very few times, and it was only maybe 1 or 2 that I was ever in a hospital. You know, as soon as you can get up off the bed and go to the bathroom by yourself, you were gone.
Yep.
You know, you were discharged.
All right. Hey, Mark, you mentioned the song. This is for the President of the United States.
Not Amazing Grace? Is it Amazing Grace? Oh, son of a gun.
That's Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears believe. How precious is that grace appeared, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
That was Jaden Firth. Amazing Grace.
Well, I must say, if anybody listened to the president, he certainly gave a very soulful interpretation of Amazing Grace. Okay. One thing you can't take away from him, the man has he can carry a tune.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad at all. I mean, it wasn't the best I've
It wasn't
heard.
at all. I was impressed.
That's like the second time he's done that, isn't it?
Yeah, the first time he was singing a Marvin Gaye song, I believe.
Yeah. But I think by now we've had all that we're going to say for tonight. What do you think?
Say that again?
I think we've said all we're going to say for tonight.
Well, we've certainly covered the Supreme Court decisions. Once again, I don't know how other people feel, but speaking personally, as I said before, and I'll just my closing thoughts would be, I'm very happy that same-sex marriage is now the law of the land. My son is gay, and I'm very happy for him. Okay. I am happy for all those people who can now express themselves in public, and not that they were ever ashamed to hold hands before or anything like that, but now maybe the staring will stop. I will say, I did mention that it was another Supreme Court decision back in the 60s that allowed interracial couples to marry. And I have to say that when my wife and I and two of our kids were in North Carolina about